Hello, in this video we are going to discuss about the Peninsular Plateau. This is lecture number 3 of the chapter Physical Features of India. In this lecture we are going to cover the Peninsular Plateau. Now, Peninsular Plateau can be classified or divided into 3 parts, which is the Central Highlands, the Deccan Plateau and the Chota Nagpur Plateau. So Peninsular Plateau can be divided into 3 parts. One is the Central Highland, then is the Deccan Plateau, and then is the Chota Nagpur Plateau. So let us discuss what is Peninsular Plateau, what are its features, and we would be discussing about the Central Highlands, the divisions of the Peninsular Plateau, the Central Highlands, the Deccan Plateau and the Chota Nagpur Plateau, and then we would be comparing Western Ghats and the Eastern Ghats. So let's begin with the Peninsular Plateau. The Peninsular Plateau is a tableland composed of old, crystalline, igneous and metamorphic rocks. So Peninsular Plateau, the first feature, Peninsular Plateau is a tableland. It is a tableland and it is composed of old, crystalline, igneous and metamorphic rocks. Second feature of Peninsular Plateau is it was formed due to the breaking and drafting of the Gondwana land. So we have a Gondwana land, and Gondwana land, it is a southern part of the ancient supercontinent. Gondwana land was the southern part of the ancient supercontinent. So this Gondwana land broke and it resulted in the formation of the Peninsular Plateau. So Peninsular Plateau is a tableland and it is composed by crystalline, igneous and metamorphic rocks, and its formation is due to the breaking down of the Gondwana land. The Gondwana land braked and it drifted and it forms the Peninsular Plateau. Now Peninsular Plateau, as we know, is divided into two broad categories. One is the Central Highlands, Deccan Plateau and the Chota Nagpur Plateau. The Central Highlands, the first part of the Peninsular Plateau, that is the Central Highland. The Central Highland lies to the north of the Narmada River and it covers larger part of the Malwa Plateau. Central Highlands is the part of the Peninsular Plateau, and Central Highlands lies to the north of the Narmada River and it covers the major area of Malwa Plateau. Now Central Highlands is bounded by Vindhya Range to the south and the Aravalis to the northwest. So Central Highland is bounded by Vindhya Range in the south and the Aravalis in the northwest. Now when we move further westward towards this Central Highland, the further westward extension of the Central Highland, it merges with the sandy and rocky desert of Rajasthan. So this is the location. The first, it lies to the north of the Narmada River, covering a major area of Malwa Plateau. Then it is bounded by Central Highlands in the south and it is bounded by Aravalis to the northwest. Now when we further extend westward, this Central Highland, it merges with the sandy desert of Rajasthan. And rivers in this area are the Chambal, the Sindh, the Betwa and the Ken. The rivers in this area are the Chambal, the Sindh, Betwa and Ken, means in Central Highland, these rivers, they flows. And Central Highlands are wider in the west and narrower in the east. In the west, the Central Highland is wide, whereas in the east, the Central Highland is narrow. The eastward extension, when we extend Central Highlands towards the east, we get Bundelkhand and Bangelkhand. The eastward extension of this plateau is known as Bundelkhand and Bangelkhand. And Chota Nagpur Plateau marks the further eastward extension, and it is drained by the Damodar River. So Central Highlands location is towards the north of the Narmada River, and it covers the major part of the Malwa Plateau. Vindhya range is bounded by the Central Highlands to the south and the Aravallis to the northwest, and the further extension is towards the rocky and the sandy desert of Rajasthan, and the rivers in this area is Chambal, Sindh, Betwa and Ken. Then Central Highlands are wide in the west, and in the east they are narrow, and the eastward extension of this plateau is known as Bundelkhand and the Bangelkhand. And Chota Nagpur Plateau marks the further extension, means when you are extending the Central Highlands towards the east, you will find Chota Nagpur Plateau, and this Chota Nagpur Plateau is drained by the Damodar River. The next part, after the Central Highlands and the Chota Nagpur Plateau, we will be having Deccan Plateau. The Deccan Plateau is a triangular landmass that lies to the south of river Narmada. It is a triangular landmass and it lies to the south of river Narmada. The Satpura range bounded its broad base in the north, while the Mahadev and the Kaimur hills and the Matkai range forms its eastern extension. Now Satpura range is towards the north, Mahadev and Kaimur hills and the Matkaya range is towards the eastern extension. This range is higher in the west and slopes gently towards the east. Towards the west it is higher, and its slope is towards westward, means the slope of this Deccan Plateau is from west to east. The rivers will be flowing from west to east. The extension of the Deccan Plateau can also be seen in the northeast, and it is locally known as Meghalaya, the Kabri and Long Plateau and the North Sigar Hills. Now it is separated by a fault from the Chota Nagpur Plateau. The three important hills, that is the Garo Hills, the Kashi Hills and the Jantia Hills, runs from west to east. The three prominent hill ranges from the west to east in this area is the Garo Hills, the Kashi Hills and the Jantia Hills. So the Peninsular Plateau is divided into three parts. The first is the Central Highlands, then you have the Chota Nagpur Plateau, and then you have a Deccan Plateau, and we will have the most important feature of this Peninsular Plateau as a whole. As a whole, the Peninsular Plateau is rich in black soil. As a whole, the Peninsular Plateau is rich in black soil, whether it is Central Highland or it is Chota Nagpur Plateau or it is Deccan Plateau. The entire Peninsular Plateau is rich in black soil. So it is also known as Deccan Trap. The Peninsular Plateau is known as Deccan Trap because the Peninsular Plateau is rich in black soil and it is good for the cultivation of cotton. The Western Ghats and the Eastern Ghats mark the west and the eastern edges of the Deccan Plateau. The Western Ghats and the Eastern Ghats, they marks the western and the eastern edges of the Deccan Plateau. So now we will have a difference. We will have a difference between the Western Ghats and the Eastern Ghats. Now let's begin with the difference of Western Ghats and the Eastern Ghats. The Western Ghats mark the western edge of the Deccan Plateau. Eastern Ghats mark the eastern edge of the Deccan Plateau. Towards the west, the western edge of the Deccan Plateau is the Western Ghats, and the eastern edge of the Deccan Plateau is the Eastern Ghats. Western Ghats are continuous and can be crossed through the passes only. They are continuous range. Continuous range means they are not broken. They are continuous range, and in order to cross the Western Ghats, we have to go through the passes. Whereas the Eastern Ghats are discontinuous, they are irregular, and they are dissected by the rivers that drains into the Bay of Bengal. Let us compare Eastern Ghats and the Western Ghats on the basis of the height. The Western Ghats average height is 900 meters to 1600 meters. Average height of the Western Ghats is the 900 meters to 1600 meters, whereas the average height of the Eastern Ghats is lower than the Western Ghats. The average height is 600 meters. The rivers in the Western Ghats, rivers like Godavari, Krishna and Kaveri flows. So this Western Ghats has major rivers of the south, and the rivers are Godavari, Krishna and Kaveri, whereas no big river originates from the Eastern Ghats. Then the next point of difference, it experiences more rain in the summers due to the summer monsoons, and it receives mostly rains in winter season because the northeast monsoons, due to the northeast monsoons. So Western Ghats receive summer rain because of summer monsoons, and Eastern Ghats receives winter rain because of northeast monsoons. Western Ghats is receiving summer rains during the summer monsoons, and Western Ghats it is receiving rain during the winter season and due to the northeast monsoons. The height of Western Ghats, it increases from north to south. The height of the Western Ghats increases from north to south, and the highest peak in the Western Ghats is Anaimudi and Doda Beta. Anaimudi, that is its height is 2695 meters, and Doda Beta's height is 2637 meters. So these two highest peaks lies in the Western Ghats, whereas in the Eastern Ghats the highest peak is Mahendragiri, and its height is 1501 meters. 1501 meters Mahendragiri is the highest peak in the Eastern Ghats. After that, Chevroy Hills and the Jawadi Hills. The Chevroy Hills and the Jawadi Hills are located in the southeast of the Eastern Ghats. So this is all about the Peninsular Plateau. The Peninsular Plateau's division is on the three types, and it is Central Highlands, Deccan Plateau, and the Chota Nagpur Plateau. And we have studied the features of these three plateaus, and then we have studied the further extension of the Deccan Plateau, which is Western Ghats and the Eastern Ghats, and then we have compared the Eastern Ghats and the Western Ghats. This is all about the Peninsular Plateau. Thank you.